The site is in the
We want to
process
bring
of
you now
being
to officials
secured.
from Scituate talking about the aftermath of the massive fire there that destroyed 5 homes.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. If you have questions about that, I'm going to have to refer them to the State Fire Marshal's office. So with that, that's really where we are at this point, but I have my Public Safety Department heads here if anybody has any specific questions that they can answer for you. So I'm going to just turn it over to you guys at this point.
To the Deputy Chief, you know, your crews that were out there that night, by the time you got there, you said you pretty much determined that 3 of those structures were a complete loss, right? Just kind of lay the land for us and tell us what it was like when you guys got out there and what you guys were dealing with.
Yeah, we were receiving multiple calls immediately. That area is very populated in the summer, but in the winter months, there's not that many people around, and that's probably what allowed the fire to grow. When we arrived, we found one structure fully involved, and it had already extended to the structure to the left and to the right of it. So at that point, we made a decision to try to cut it off at the north and south ends of the fire. So the crews did an incredible job establishing protective hose lines. We went into defensive operation immediately just to try to prevent any further damage to any of the nearby structures. And if you've seen the area, some of these homes are only separated by 3 or 4 feet in some locations, and one was even connected by a deck. So we had a lot of challenges when we arrived. We had burning brands flying over the buildings with the wind down the beach. It actually ignited 2 small fires and actually ignited a roll-off dumpster, which we had to deal with as well when we arrived.
When you got there, I mean, it sounds like a lot of people were not home. Most of the people in those homes were not there. But what's your initial, priority when you get on a scene like that?
Generally, our first priority is life safety. So we immediately, with the assistance of Scituate Police, we evacuated the adjoining structures, and we quickly tried to determine what units were occupied, what were not. And once we did that, it was then we moved on to property conservation, and that really was the pretty much the strategy throughout the night until we were able to contain it, and then it was extinguishment of all the burning structures, and that carried well on into the next day until we were able to bring down the damaged buildings and remove some of the roofs and some of the other things out of the area so we could properly extinguish the fire, which we did.
Can you confirm that the house that the fire started in was under construction at the time? I'm
going to defer all comments to the State Fire Marshal's office on that.
Can you speak to the tenants? Are they still being put up in area hotels?
At this time, I'm not sure. Many of the tenants did stay at a nearby hotel that night. What their arrangements are now, I do not know.
So for that, FEMA, the Red Cross, and Scituate Community Christmas, which is a local organization, are all working with the residents to make sure that they have places to stay, clothing, whatever they need at this point. So that's what we're working on at this point to make sure that they're okay.
Is that Sam's?
Sands is part of it. Scituate Community Christmas is a little separate from Sands, but they're working together. They do have a website. People can go to that website to donate clothing or money or whatever to help the victims of the fire.
Do you have a total number of the people who are displaced by this? Or?
Didn't know how many there were, Mark?
I want to say there was approximately 6 to 10. I'm not sure. One home that received some fire damage, but I believe is still in a once repaired, be in a livable condition. They were staying in Florida, and we spoke with family members there, and they were safely out of state at the time.
That's the one where the siding was just burnt.
Yes,
on the one
yes,
side. I think it's
yeah.
68. Yeah. In terms of the water and the power situation on that road, are there any continuous disruptions with either of those? That might be a question for you.
Most of the residents, most of the residents' power was restored around 3:30 a.m. on Saturday. Only the affected structures have been without power since.
Because we saw gas crews out there this morning with Eversource.
Yes, they initially isolated the gas to all the affected properties, and the ones that are completely destroyed, they actually go back and physically disconnect that from the street connection. So any construction and demolition down the road that we don't trigger another gas leak.
I know on Saturday, you guys had said 5 of the houses were total losses and 3 still needed to be assessed. Were those homes assessed, and do you think that they're all in livable condition once they're repaired?
Yes, most of them were just exterior damage mainly from the radiant heat.
What did you say about your crews who were out there? I mean, it sounds like this was a multi-agency response, but for you, was this a textbook response for you guys?
Yeah, we follow the same fire alarm plans that go back prior to the telephone, and it worked very well. And we had overall assistance from 12 communities, and everyone did a tremendous job. There was a lot of hard work. It was a long duration. We had a light rain towards the end of the night, and as the wind came off the east, that can take its toll on you as well.